we have Greg Elfrink. I did pronounce that correctly, right?
You did indeed.
And you are with Empire Flippers, and we're going to talk about some really super cool stuff today. But first, let's start off with you telling us who you are and give us the bird's eye view of Empire Flippers.
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, Greg Elfrink, I'm the director of marketing over at Empire Flippers. So I lead the whole marketing team, do a lot of education in the industry as well, like things like this. And what Empire Flippers does, we're the largest curated marketplace in the world when it comes to buying and selling online businesses. My wife just got back from grocery shopping, so that's sort of the background. But yeah. But yeah, so what we do is if you have an affiliate site, an e-commerce store or software, or really any kind of online business, and you want to sell that, we help you broker that deal. So we just passed in verified investor liquidity $1 billion. So that's actual money that our buyers have told us that they have and proved it with like bank statements or HELOCs, all that kind of stuff. It's part of our verification process on the buy side. So that's awesome. So that just happened, and I'm working on a promo right now about the sleeping $1 billion industry. Like the marketer in me is about to go wild with that number.
Well, and so I want to be upfront in the fact that one, I don't participate in your side of the industry, right? So
Not yet,
when
not
I'm,
yet.
yeah, not yet. So when I'm playing dumb, I really am dumb. It's not that I'm playing dumb, right? But I wanted to kind of do a discovery of a couple of things that I've been piecing together. And again, I don't know which videos you've watched, but I made a decision which is somehow, I don't know, caused a whole bunch of backlash that I said, I've always been on the agency side. And then, I started starting different businesses and different niches and market verticals. And then I made a decision recently I don't do anything fast. So I've been researching affiliate marketing for, I don't know, about probably a year. And I said, I'm going to do that. Right. So as soon as I said, I'm going to start doing affiliate marketing, all of a sudden I got a whole bunch of pushback. They're like, no, that's what we do. Right. don't, don't come into our market. Right. So it's been kind of fun, and I've been piecing together all of these things, and then at the same time I kind of came up with this aha moment that I said, wow, part of this series and part of the agency hacker side is not what I did in between 2012 and now, but what I would have done differently to make it easier.
Mm,
If that makes any sense. And that's why you're on the
100%.
show,
Yeah.
right? Because working 100 hours a week for what the equivalent of a $4 an hour job until, until you finally get clients in place and everything else. So I think this is a good piece. So the very first question I have to ask, because everybody's going to want to know, is what's the most that a website is sold for?
So that's a very good question that is very difficult to answer in the sense that there's a bunch of different business models, right? In terms of affiliate site, the highest we sold, I think, was 58x, and that's monthly net profit, not annual. So we use what is called a monthly EBITDA. Most other brokers will use annual. So if you hear someone say, "Oh, I sold my business for 2-3x," they're talking about 2 to 3 times the annual net profit. When you come to EF and we say 58, like 58x, that means we sold that business for 58 times of the monthly net profit. So,
Sure. So
so that's a little difference, but that was a big site. It was, I think it was 1.7 million was the sales price on that site. And since then we sold bigger affiliate sites, but that was still the biggest multiple. The biggest affiliate site we sold, I think, is right around 4.5 million now.
sure, that's awesome. And is that kind of a normal, or can people, I guess what's the word? I would say limp in, right? So, you don't really have hey, you have to be this size of a site in order to be able to list your website
We
and your services, or do you?
So we do, but it is a very like humble threshold. So like for an affiliate site, all you have to be making over your last 12 months is an average net profit of $500 or more. So for anything else is $1,000. So e-commerce, Amazon FBA has to be over $1,000 in net profit. But that's it, really. Like you have to have 12 months of average net profit above those thresholds. You have to have at least, this doesn't necessarily apply to FBA, but for most other things like affiliate sites, e-com, you have to have analytics, like 6 months worth of analytics installed. And
Sure.
that's really it in terms of like our minimum requirements. Now, with that said, a caveat just in case we get like a flood of people submitting their business with us, we still reject 88% of businesses that come to us. So they go through our vetting process first, and we make sure that they're a quality business for our marketplace before they ever go live.
So forgive me, but the people who are watching this show and subscribe to this show, they don't even understand what FBA stands for.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Amazon FBA, all that means is you have an e-commerce product, but usually you have a manufacturer either in America, China, or wherever, and you ship it to Amazon's warehouse and you have a product listing on Amazon. That's all it is, fulfilled by Amazon. So it's
Right.
like e-commerce on the Amazon marketplace, which that and affiliate are like our bread and butter. So
Sure. So affiliate being one side where you can be an Amazon affiliate, but an Amazon FBA site is something completely
yeah, they're
different.
like two.
Where
There's two sides of a similar coin. We've actually sold businesses where the Amazon FBA entrepreneur, he created an Amazon affiliate site to double dip on his own product as well as to drive more external traffic, which then
sure.
made his Amazon rankings go up. So he got an awesome multiple selling that business with us.
Awesome. So he sold both, or he just sold one?
Yeah, he sold them together because they were basically the same brand, and he would use the affiliate site. So he would use the affiliate site to promote his FBA products, but then he
Sure.
would also go into Amazon's report, and the report tells you what you sold from your site, and he would use that as R&D to create his next product because he's like, well, I'm already selling this type of product with Amazon affiliate links. All I need to do is like manufacture and change out my affiliate link to
Mhm.
an affiliate link to this product, and now you get a double dip on the affiliate commission and the actual margin on the product. So
That's kind of an interesting in between say the drop shipping market and I don't know, just being a generalized e-commerce. So I don't think people really look at the Amazon. I just call it the FBA, right? I mean, I have my own words for everything, right? But so it's kind of a different take on drop shippers, and I really I don't understand that market because I don't do it. And then you have standard e-commerce, which I've done a zillion of those, and then you have the affiliate marketing. But that FBA side is kind of an interesting like in between where you can find people who are manufacturing things in different countries, potentially white label manufacture it under your own brand and then bring it to market, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're lucky, you don't have to buy like an entire container load of product and ship it over to the United States, right?
well, hopefully by the time you do that, you're pretty profitable.
Yeah,
That's
you,
the problem with those businesses. It's like a hamster wheel. You're always reinvesting the capital, right?
yeah. I made the mistake, and funny story, squirrel moment, right? While we're talking about hamster wheel, I had this idea that I wanted to just test out drop shipping, right? So I test all kinds of things all the time because I'm a big nerd, right? But so I started this whole eBay thing, and then I found this really cool, like little hoverboard, hovering skateboard thing with like a handlebar jobber on it, and I was like, yeah, I can make some money on that. So I put it up on eBay, and it started selling like two or three a week, and the markup on it was like I don't know, 250 bucks each, right? Because I'm buying them from like China and I'm buying them from Russia, and then the issue being is I didn't really know how to explain that to anybody else, to hand it off to anybody else. So I keep getting these orders in from eBay, and I'm like, yeah, oh shit, I don't have time for that because I have all of these other things going on. So I got in. eBay ended up suspending my account, or like canceling it or whatever. Like I'm never allowed to have an eBay account ever again because I didn't fulfill the orders, and I ended up just refunding them because it was like, yeah, 250 bucks per thing. You're talking about, I don't know, 750 bucks a week, but in comparison to all of the other things that I had going on because I had the agent
Right.
doing and all this other stuff, I'm like, something's got to break, and it's got to be that.
Yeah. I totally get it, man. Too many things.
Yeah. So, but that's what the people on that are watching this show want. They want to be able to, start an agency and then, go through all of the same headaches. And I feel bad for them, but I'm going to help, hopefully alleviate
The
some of those.
troubled road. Please
Some of
walk
those
down.
headaches. Don't buy the little bottle of Tylenol. Buy the really big. So let's go through this because I want to learn from you, right? So if I want to go into the affiliate marketing world, I have the opportunity to build an affiliate site, which I may or may not know how to do.
Mhm.
Or, and we talked about this beforehand, I spoke with Craig, and he deals with this ODYS, which I'm going to put a link for. And they sell kind of like marinated affiliate sites that they've built and they've built authority to. What are some of the other ways, right? Because you're like the Buddha, right? You know what I mean?
It's fitting I'm in Vietnam, a very Buddhist country. So,
I call it, man.
but yeah, so both those strategies can work, right? Building from scratch or buying something from like ODYS, and there's other sites out there outside of ODYS too that sells these like pre-made sites, and they can be good up to a certain point, especially if you're just starting out. Like if you're just starting out, you have no real knowledge of how an affiliate site even looks like. I think those are often a pretty good choice. And even if you have some SEO experience, depending on how they're marinated in terms of like age and all that kind of stuff, it can still be a great choice. But other ways you can do it is you can still build it from yourself, but buy on an expired domain. That's often a fast way. Another way you can do it that is relatively fast and not that capital intensive, though more capital intensive than the other ways I just described, would be to go find or buy your site, buy your domain, build it, and all that stuff. And instead of like buying content and building links, what you can do instead is go into your niche to like page 2 on Google and find all the sites that people have been blogging about in your niche that were probably passion blogs. Like, for example, DIY or something like that. There's a lot of like DIY blogs or travel blogs that people are passionate about, and then they lost the passion and the drive to like carry it out. So you reach out to them and offer them a deal like, hey, I want to buy your site. And usually you can get those sites for pretty cheap, like $200 upwards to $10,000, probably on the high end. And you get a ton of content and ton of links that you can just 301 to your main site. So you take the usable content, put it on your main site, 301 that individual URL to that new site or that new page, and all the content that you can't use, like pictures of their dog or something that you're probably not going to use. You can just 301 that to your homepage. And that I've seen work quite successfully. We actually had a friend of the company. He sold a $500,000 business with us. And it was only a 2-year-old site. And that's his strategy. He got so much content and backlinks. Like one of the sites he bought was 10 grand. And he basically, when you counted for how much content and backlinks he got from it, it was like 50 cents per piece of content, if that. It's just like insanely cheap. And these people, they're not internet marketers usually. So when you offer someone like $500 for their little passion project they don't even care about anymore, they're like, yeah, this is awesome, right? So that.
And that's kind of an interesting. I was talking to Mads about that, right? We did the whole conference thing that's coming up, and the Mastery Summit or whatever you called it. I should probably know the name, but since I did a presentation for it, but I know it's something along those lines. So don't tell him I said that, because he'll be like, what do you mean you don't know the name, right?
So I also forgot, and I'm also a presenter on that. I have
SEO.
such a bad memory.
Yeah. So, yeah, but he was talking about, there's just certain things that, it brings up a good point that a lot of people will get into a market or a niche that they aren't familiar with, and the reason why they're not ranking content is because they're not familiar with it, and they go in and they just try and push something down people's throats with content and keyword stuffing and all of this other stuff, and it just doesn't rank because nobody wants to stay on the page, right?
You're right.
So Google might give you some love initially, but if people are backing out and your dwell time sucks and everything else, I mean, your site's just not going to rank. So buying, let's assume that you're growing carrots, or there's some sort of affiliate marketing site about growing carrots out there.
There is.
You make a really good point that buying somebody else's work, they put in the passion and you get all the fruit, vegetables out of it in that case, right?
It's a confusing metaphor.
Yeah, you get the fruits of their labor, not the vegetables.
Yeah.
But and when Mad said that in conversation, I was like, right? I mean, I learn shit every day. You know what I mean? I think one of the important aspects of owning an agency and doing digital work and everything else is that we don't know everything.
Yeah.
In communicating with everybody, that gives us an opportunity to keep learning more. But all right, so let's assume.
I wanted to add one more thing on it. There is another option if you have more capital that I think is absolutely the best way, though is also going to make me sound the most self-promotional probably on this podcast, and that is just buying a site that's already making money. So like I have friends, they buy sites from us all the time. They buy sites with problems, they fix that problem, and then they just sell the site with us again, like 8 months, 10 months down the road. I've seen the same business sell 4 times at EF. So
I want to dig into that really heavily in
sure.
about 10 minutes.
Perfect.
Is
I'm ready. I got to hit my wall.
this is gonna, when I get to that point, it's gonna be like a waterboarding session, you know.
Oh man, I am not looking as forward to this now.
Let's just walk through the whole process, right? Because I think what you just gave away like the carrot in the end, like preemptively. We all just ate our pudding before dinner. But now that that's happened, right? so let's walk through the process that we've either built a site, we've bought a site, right? That's probably in its fledgling, something that we're going to build. And the reason why I would actually recommend the people who are watching this to not build an affiliate marketing site is because there's an opportunity to go through the services that you're talking about, right? And companies like the ODYS to have that groundwork already put in place for them. Because some of the people probably know about expireddomains.net. They may know about certain aspects, but they're probably just in a process of, well, half of them are still designing a logo, just to be completely clear, right? And I literally just got an email from somebody saying, when should I order my business cards? Right.
Never, just use Facebook.
Right. To be honest with you, I think I still have business cards from like 3 companies ago.
It's funny. I go to conferences. I'm one of the only guys with business cards, but I make a joke of it. So like now, during conference season last year, at least when it was normal season, other sponsors who had been sponsored conferences with me, they'll come up to my table now, like, great, can I have some of your business cards? I'll give them like a stack of like 40 cards, and then they put it on their booth and start handing out, because I'm just like overly aggressive handing out my business cards. I had like 5 of them to the same person, sneak them in people's purses.
So a good squirrel moment. I went to a conference. I don't even remember what it was, but it was years ago. I don't remember what the conference was, but it was at the Mandarin Oriental in Miami, which is like the, who's Fritz of whatever. And you always feel underdressed, it's just one of those places, right? And so I show up to this conference, and I do all the speaking and everything else, and then everybody walks up, and at the end, I don't know if it's every conference is like this, but what they would do is they would take a break after every presenter. And because we're giving like hour-long lectures about different things. And so we get done, and then everybody walks up to me, right? And one, I'm not a people person, right? I'm not a hug guy. I'm all about, hey, stay in your bubble and I'll stay in mine. and they all walk up to me, and I'm like, and they're like, hey, can I get a business card? And total bullshit came out of my mouth. All right. Total bullshit came out of my mouth. I said, just as a sarcastic, smart-ass remark, I said, everybody who needs to know or needs to get a hold of me knows how to get a hold of me. Okay.
Ultimate marketing authority move.
Because I didn't want to admit that I forgot to bring business cards with me to the conference. And so this other guy, Brian Strasser, he was like, did you, everybody's coming up to us asking us, do we know how to get a hold of you? Right? What's going on? I was like, well, do you? And he's like, yeah. And I said, then you need to know, right? And they, everybody who needs to know how to get a hold of me knows how to get a hold of me, right? So it was this whole thing over like 3 days, right? This big elusive thing. And they're like, I was like, wow, I think I just took over the conference by forgetting to bring my business card.
Should do this more often. That's awesome.
Anyhow, business cards, right? Squirrel moment. But all right, so I want to get to the point where they don't know they don't know SEO. I mean, I would say probably 10% of the people who are watching these videos even understand. They know what SEO means
Mhm.
per se and just reading it, but they probably aren't at the point where they're even optimizing a website, or some of them don't have a website. And I don't know. Some of them are months from having a website,
Yeah.
just to be clear. But
No worries. I've been there.
so
We all start there.
so if they go in this process and they're going to go through and use one of these services to who are some of the other services? Because I don't know who those services are.
Yeah, sure. So there's Human Proof Designs. There's one other. I can't remember the name of it, but Human Proof Designs. We're good friends with the previous owner of that company, and as well as the new owner. So my friend, he built that company, sold it off, and they're still doing it. I think they're pretty similar to ODYS in terms of their offerings. They also offer some other. I'm not familiar with everything ODYS offers, but Human Proof Designs, they'll do the pre-built affiliate sites. Some of them they'll sell that even have traffic already, but they're
Mhm.
like pre-revenue usually, or like very little revenue, like 20
Sure.
bucks or something like that. And they also have like link building and content services. If you're wanting to get an Amazon affiliate, and you want to go with like the pre-built route, I'm a big fan of Human Proof Designs. ODYS might be great. I'm just not familiar with it. But Human Proof Designs, they like basically have mastered Amazon affiliate content for the most part. Like when you buy something like from them, you still have a lot of work in front of you, but it can greatly speed up the process.
Sure. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask for a link to put in the show notes
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And the other one you don't remember?
I
They-
don't. It's funny. I just saw an ad from them too.
So so
It's like
when you do remember, just reach out to them and say, "Hey, I wanted to mention you, but you guys were immemorable."
I will. I will nurture that relationship just like that.
That's how I would do it.
I should take lessons for getting business cards. I'm going to have to do that at the next conference.
Um, all right, so now they have a site, and now I do want to plug, and don't even tell them that I plugged this show or his thing, but so if they're starting in the SEO process, going back to the, I'm going to make a very bold statement that if you can't rank yourself, you have no business trying to sell your services to rank somebody else. Okay, and that's the nugget of this, is encouraging everybody to get into the affiliate marketing space, not necessarily long term, but they're
Mhm.
going to get their lumps along the way, and they're going to learn, and they're going to go through this process, and it's going to help them when they're sitting in front of a client saying, "Hey, we're going to make your phone ring," right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Because realistically, I would say that probably over half of the agencies that I would find myself competing with, with a for a specific client, I could pick them apart just like that. And
I remember doing SEO as an agency owner way back in the day, and yeah, man, but my competitors couldn't even rank the zip codes. I think the easiest keyword, that's how I did it, by the way, to show people I could rank, because it's just so easy, like and to them it was like magic. The chiropractor's like, whoa, yeah, I guess you could do it.
well, and
Oh,
always my joke is, Scott Keeber.
I don't actually, I don't.
Okay, so Scott Keeber, his thing is look up the best looking guy in Miami, and you're going to see a picture of him.
Oh, I love that SEO
And you
strategy.
and you can do the same thing for multiple cities in the United States, and it's a great sales pitch. And he's like, "Hey, you
Yeah.
know what? Don't take my word for it. Just look up the best looking guy in such and such city, and there I am." Right? And it's brilliant. I mean, don't
Uh,
tell him I taught Scott.
I'm this is a squirrel moment, but I think it's funny. When I was in the oil field, I didn't want to clean the pits on the oil rig because it's like the worst. It sounds bad, but it's even worse than it sounds. So what you have to do, and so I would tell my supervisor, because he knew I was learning SEO. I was like, Cody, if you make me clean the pits, I'm going to rank on Google for your name with a picture of you and me with like unicorns saying best friends and us hugging. He's like, what? No, don't do. Like make someone
I'll
else
do
clean the pit.
anything. Just don't do that.
Don't threaten me with this Google image SEO.
Well, and we would actually do that. we would do little tricks of, I can make you rank for this. And we would go in prior to, something easy that was related to their business. So once you're actually pretty competent at SEO and you have that meeting that's even 2 weeks or 3 weeks out, you can pick up on an easy long tail keyword and say, hey,
Yeah.
let me show you what I already did for you. You didn't even have
Yeah.
to pay me for that one. Right.
100%. And the barrier to impressing them versus most other SEO pitches that they've gotten is so easy. Like once you know what you're doing, like because most SEO agencies suck at SEO, so
Hmm.
like they're great at sales, not so great at SEO.
I have two ex-business partners, and both of them claim to do SEO, right? Which is hilarious because I look at, knowing now if I would have known then or whatever that looks like, but yeah, they don't know anything about SEO. But I can
But
tell you that they don't even know how to look at their link profile because they're
I,
never going to rank those sites.
man,
Right?
I remember running a Facebook ad to local business owners, and I got them in, and like they opted into the ad, and in the video on the thank you page, I said, and these were like your most hit up kind of people, chiropractors, dentists, like they're getting cold called by agencies all the time, right? And looking back on it, I would not target that niche because it's so competitive. But I didn't know what I was doing, but I ran this Facebook ad to them, and it said in the video like, how many times do you get called by someone who says that they can get you leads? Well, cold calling is not internet marketing, but you're watching this video because I am internet marketing to you right now. So that is proof in of itself. But you're watching this video that I know what I'm talking about. And that led to some good conversions, right?
the, the best one that I landed a client by accident is like the dumbest thing. I was referred a client by somebody. I don't remember who it is. I don't remember a lot of things at this stage of my life, but I remembered. So my phone rang, my cell phone rang, right? And normally, everybody who's calling you on your cell phone, well, it is, or if it's forwarded, it comes through in a different way or whatever that looks like, and we'll talk about that in a totally different episode. But my phone rang, and I swore that it was somebody that I was angry with. Okay. So I looked at the phone, right? I answered the phone and I said, "What do you want?" Uh, uh, so and so said that you're really good at SEO. And I said, "Who is this? Right? Who is this?" Right? I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, "Who is this? Who told you to call me?" Right? That was so and so. Oh, okay. Well, why are you calling me again? Well, they said I should hire you for SEO. And I'm like,
Intimidated them into.
I was like, okay, well, sure, right?
That's awkward.
He's like, because I'm like,
Whoops.
I don't even know where to go from here, right? I wouldn't hire me at this point, right? But and then the guy says, and he's like, so how much am I going to have to pay you? And I said, well, I don't know anything about your business, right? And now you're just asking me to quote you a price. What do you think this is, Kmart? You know what I mean? Or maybe I said Walmart or something, right? But I'm like, it doesn't work that way, dude. And I said, and because I was still kind of pissed off, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no way you're going to land this client at this.
Just really stacking the cards against yourself.
Yeah. So I said something about, I said, look, I don't even take on business for less than 1,500 a month, and that's probably only if you have $1,501 in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna want 1,500 out of it. I said, and I was just joking at that point. I said, but tell me about your business. I'll throw out a quote. I'll look at your site, everything else. But preemptively, I'm going to tell you right now that if you think you're paying less than 1,500 a month, it ain't happening. Right? And I said, tell me you're still here. Right? Completely quiet. And then he was like, well, yeah, no, that'll work. And he told me the website, and I look them up, and I'm like, yeah, they meet all the criteria because we vet them. We vet them too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then I'm looking, yeah, they hit this, 5 million per year in revenue. They, all of these targets that they're hitting. I was like, yeah, they're a good target. They're a good client, right? So I was like, yeah, give me your number and I'll call you back. And so I called this guy back, and I was like, yeah, here's the deal, bud. Right? And he's like, okay. I said, I feel like such a dick for the way that I treated you when you called. I said, you're literally, you should be probably at about 2,500 a month, but I'm going to discount that to the 1,500 minimum threshold for the first 6 months as an apology for the way our first conversation happened. And he turned into a great client. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. We do a lot of dumb shit, and sometimes it works out.
There's a lot of truth to that, right?
What do you want? Right? Uh.
Oh man, so many funny escapades in marketing, man.
Oh, we would do crazy stuff. But I want to get back on track. Is that cool?
Sure. Yes.
All right. So they've bought a website from the company that you're going to tell me about, right? After the fact, because I've already forgotten about it.
Yes.
And then, or the other place, or they built one themselves, and then they need to learn how to do SEO. And I am not going to teach them that. So now I'm going to push them in a different direction. And I'm going to include a show note to this, and we're not going to tell them about it, right? And you're probably going to have to help me out, or I'm probably going to have to look it up because I always forget what it's called. But I think the best person there's actually two, but one isn't offering a live course right now. Oh, what's it called? Authority Labs?
Is that Affiliate Lab?
Affiliate Lab?
There's the two I recommend is Affiliate Lab, which is Diggity, and then Authority Hacker by Mark and Gail.
Yeah, I'm not talking about them right now. Because
Affiliate Lab.
I almost accidentally stole their name, and I didn't even know who they were. Matt brought that up in conversation. He's like, so your thing is Agency Hacker? And I was like, yeah, pretty cool name, isn't it? He's like, well, there's an Authority Hacker. And I was like, no, I didn't know that.
Mark and Gail get a bunch of funny copycats, and then like there's people like you just genuinely like hacker, right? You have no idea who they are. They're like, oh, who's this guy copying me?
Yeah, I literally, I was like, well, I'm teaching, I want to give kind of an instruction of how to start an agency, and I want to give some hacks and how to
right
lessen the learning curve, right? So it's
the course you're talking about is Matt Diggity's, right? When you're trying, so that's the Affiliate Lab. I'm pretty sure it's still called the Affiliate Lab.
Affiliate Lab, I think so, but it has like some weird, I don't know. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to look them up on Facebook. Don't tell them. This is why I don't want them to watch this, right? Be like, wait, hold on a second. You recommended my thing, and you couldn't even like
the most professional affiliate
website, right? What the hell is his website? Affiliate Labs.
Well, his website is diggitymarketing.com. I think you can buy it from there, but
diggitymarketing.com. Because I want to put that in the show notes too, right? Get the on-site SEO guide, buy links, SEO done for you. I don't see it here. SEO coaching, Affiliate Lab.
AffiliateLab.im, yeah. That's it. I just looked it up for you as well.
Yeah, so we're going to put that in there. So rather than try and teach everything that Diggity's already mastered, right? And literally, I've never spoken with Diggity, right? And so there's this like ongoing mythical rumor that for some reason he and I have a beef, which I've never talked to the guy, have nothing but respect for him.
I'm close friends with Diggity, and I cannot tell you anyone he has a beef with. Like he's like the chillest guy.
Right? I mean, how can you not like the guy, right? My point of everything, Greg, is rather than me trying to go through and teach everybody how to do everything, I'm going to recommend his course because it's going to teach everybody the SEO, how to build links, how to do all of that stuff. And Affiliate Labs, he should pay me like an affiliate marketing commission for this. No, I'm just kidding.
I think you might have an affiliate program. You can reach out to him. I'm sure you will. But the Affiliate Lab is a great course. For exactly what you just said, man. Like, it's not just for affiliate SEO, but at least I don't know if they still have it in there, but they used to have quite a bit of local marketing stuff too. So it's really great for agency owners as well.
I can't, so the other one I was going to recommend was Jeff Lenny's course, but I don't think he's offering it right now. So when I look at, because I'm actually pretty brutal and I stalk people behind the scenes, and I'm not sure if people knew that or not, but I'll constantly ask people in my inner circles, like I watch what's going on the different social media platforms, and I'll be like, hey, do you know this person? Right? To somebody that I'm connected with. yeah, yeah. Hey, what do you think of blah, 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 right? And I'll never have a direct conversation. I've never had a conversation with Davey. You know what I mean? But here I
You're
am.
going in a sphere of influence.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, what do you think? So we were on a call, and I think I was talking. It was the agency call that I do every week, and I'm like, hey, has anybody bought Diggity's course? Yeah, yeah. What do you think of it? Oh, yeah, it's the best. Blah blah blah. Right? Oh, did you see this? This? And then I realized that like over 60% of the people that are on my weekly call that are just agency owners that have been doing this for a long time, they're all part of his course.
Yeah, yeah.
No shit. I was like, well, yeah. So affiliatelab.im. What the hell is IM?
I think internet marketing. He probably bought the TLD because it's cheap.
Wow, I'm gonna have to look that one up after. Right. So I'm gonna put wait. I'm gonna put this isn't for you, but I'm just making notes for myself. All right. So I put that in there. So they're gonna build or buy a website. Then they're gonna sign up for Diggity's thing. I have no clue what it costs, but he should sell it for probably 5 times more than he does because he's a nice guy. He's like, hey, if you buy now, I'll give you all of my knowledge for $1. Right? And you're like, what are you doing, dude? Anyways, all right. So they're going to go in and they're going to build a website. They're going to show it making money for a year. Is that right?
Yeah, and honestly, if you're building from scratch, so this is probably one of the nuances we can talk about when we talk about buying a profitable site versus building one. But if you're building from scratch, I wouldn't sell it within after 12 months because yes, we require 12 months average net profit, but most affiliate sites, as you know, especially if you're starting from scratch, the first few months, often the first 6, 8 months, is barely making anything at all, and
Mm-hmm.
12 months you're just like coming into your own. So the quickest I would sell an affiliate site firms that you built from scratch would probably be closer to the 18-month to 26-month mark, just because you want that 12 months to reflect all that work you've done, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
all that delayed gratification and get that average net profit up. So yeah, I would recommend like between months 18 and 26 to look at selling an affiliate site
So,
if you're building from scratch, that is.
so let's move into a different segment then. And I didn't even discuss this one with you. All right. Literally, you just gave me this idea and you're stuck with it.
Perfect.
So I think that there's probably a few different ways that you can go about what we're talking about. And one, they're learning SEO. Two, they're ranking a site. Three, they're making money from that site and they're seasoning this site to make more and more and more and build up. And they're building
Mhm.
links and all of this other great stuff on page, all the stuff that they probably don't know yet. But they have an opportunity at some point to, I guess, cash in. And I'm going to tell you a really relevant kind of a how little I know about the industry because I got into an argument with somebody over your Empire Flippers. Okay.
Oh, good.
And and I told them they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And okay, I said a lot of mean things to the person in probably the nicest way that I can. But um so that they can season the website, and let's say they're at 18 months, that gives them the opportunity that most of the time when we start doing something, we always wish at some point we could have done it better, right? Or we know
For sure.
now how we could have done it better. So that gives them the opportunity to almost like with real estate start flipping websites and then end up trading up into a younger, faster model, if that makes any sense, right? I know my
100%. Yeah.
like, so they can do that model. They can build, sell, go back, do it again, right? So there's that model similar to real estate
Mhm.
where they can, trade up into, let's say they have 5 sites, they can trade up to one better site, by selling these 5 and then buying something with a little bit more horsepower, if that's a good word. And then they can just be a person who builds and sells, builds and sells, builds and sells, almost like somebody who builds a house.
Yeah.
Are there any other different methods that you see people using within your model from the affiliate marketing side?
Yeah. So, like that model you just described, build, sell, build, sell, build, sell. I call that the factory model. So you usually have really, really good SOPs, and you're able to just crush out these affiliate sites constantly, right? The other part where you're talking about trading up is actually the faster way, in my opinion, though. So, say, and I call this the asset flywheel. And basically, the asset flywheel is where every dollar you earn is bent to the purpose of just building or buying more assets, in this case online businesses. So Say you built up, you spent that first, I don't know, 30 months building an affiliate site. And at the end of 30 months, you have a site that's valued at, say, I don't know, $150,000. That you had a really good site that you built, probably a lot of issues because first one or whatever, but you made it happen and all that kind of stuff. You sell that for 150K, and then you take a portion of that 150K, say it's 100K, to buy another affiliate site that's making $3,500 a month already, and you start doing CRO on it, start tweaking the on page, all that good stuff. You get it up to like say $5,000 in a few more months. And unlike a site that you built from scratch, where I would recommend like the earliest time to sell it, probably 16 months, like bare, like as early as possible, right? Would be maybe 16 months, though you should probably wait longer. Within a site you buy and you do that with, like, you can sell that site within like 8 months if you want, because as long as you have a good plan of over a period, like say a month or two, to like implement everything, to make all the changes, and then you can wait just that 8 months to bring the average net profit up, and you can sell the site, because it's not like the site's 8 months old. The site is 38 months old, right? Because you already bought the time that someone else spent on it. So that's a very fast way to do it, and we call that flipper Fred. People buy low, fix it, sell high, right? So
What seems to be the majority? Is it the people that the factory model, or the, what did you call it, flipper Fred?
Flipper Fred. we got a bunch more terminology that we're going to be throwing at you.
Everybody's gonna be like, what flipper Fred?
But yeah. So the factory model used to be quite common back, I don't know, say 3 years ago, when PBNs were still all the rage, because it was just so easy in a lot of ways to just like crank out all these sites. But now what happens is it tends to be bigger sites, because most people are building authority sites now. Just because the winds of the market have changed to where authority sites are actually easier, and they've always been way more profitable. It's just like now they're easier to do than the other model. So people are selling much bigger sites, so a little bit less of a factory in terms of speed, but still, I'd say the most common is people still building from scratch, selling their first business. And one of the most common types of buyers are someone who has sold 2 or 3 of their businesses, because usually they use that liquidity that they have, which is the most capital they've ever had in their life, usually at one time, to go and buy businesses. So a lot of our buyers are actually started off as our sellers. So
sure. So I'll tell you about the argument that I had, right? And
sure.
I floored everybody because I put it in print for a whole bunch of people to see. Right?
Oh man, I hopefully I'll come out of this unscathed, whatever this argument is.
No, it was all me, right? Like literally, you literally at the beginning of this actually told me that I was wrong without even knowing this, right? So we're having this conversation in print, on social media, in a group, and somebody brought up wanting to sell their affiliate marketing site. Okay. And they start talking about 30x, right? Oh yeah, you could get 30x. Well, I'm a business guy. Okay. So when somebody comes at me with 30x EBITDA, what am I assuming?
Were you thinking annual when you heard that too? Yeah.
Okay. So when he came at me with, well, I can get 30x for my website and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, let me do some quick math there. And wrong answer, dude. Like, nobody in their right mind is going to buy 30x EBITDA for a digital website with no physical assets, no physical anything, right? I never picked up on it until you said something at the beginning of this. Now I have to go back and apologize to this guy, by the way.
No, that argument is kind of our fault, actually, because we're the only broker that uses monthly EBITDA. There's 2 reasons why we use monthly EBITDA. One, it's because internet businesses are just more volatile than brick and mortar businesses usually. So we feel we're just more granular. And 2, it's a little bit of a marketing thing, because if everyone is using our multiples, since no one else uses it, I know that person is mine.
Sure.
Like, I know that person is branded to EF because they're using 30x instead of 2.5 or whatever. So, well,
I'm just going to be completely upfront. The things that I said to this guy, he ended up never responding.
Oh no.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Greg.
I'm sorry. We produced.
He said something about 30x, and I'm like, think about how many words you can type angry in an instant messenger group
It's
over
funny,
10.
man. Like since we've grown so much bigger over the last few years, like we just closed on a $12 million deal. Private equity firms and institutional buyers are coming to our marketplace now, and they're like 30x, 35x. What the hell are you guys talking about? Because they're thinking annual too. So now that was like a double-edged sword because we like put the stake in like no, it's monthly, it's monthly.
Well, yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, I haven't really talked to the guy since, which I think I'm gonna have to go back and apologize and say, yeah, I finally realized that it was monthly because he never even told me that. I made him
Yeah,
feel so bad that he literally, you know what I mean? Yeah.
walked away.
Then he came out and he's like, I can get 30x and blah, blah, blah. And I went through and I read everything. And he's like, he came back and he's like, what do you think about that? And I said, I think you're a damn fool, right? I think that 3 to 5x, maybe 7x, or sometimes tech firms get 8x.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley that have angel investors coming out of their ears get 8x. You're coming at me with 30x on an Amazon affiliate site. I
You
said,
have no idea how good these
oh,
reviews are, man.
so yeah. So now I know that's monthly.
It's all good.
Hey, public apology. I am very sorry, Kyler. Right? If you watch this video, I'm
Son of
very
mystery.
sorry. Let me tell that right now. You were right. I was wrong. Public apology. All right. So then there's a third type that you haven't discussed yet. And that's the people who would probably be me in your environment, which are looking for a site that's performing well, who have investment capital, that are willing to purchase somebody else's efforts and almost treat that as if it's this is a bad term, but a rental property. I know I'm comparing everything to real
Yeah.
estate, but
No, we compare a lot of things to real estate too. There's a lot of similarities in a lot of ways.
okay, so tell us about that.
So of you buying a site, treating it like a rental property, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
people can
So
do that.
that Yeah, people do it all the time. People do it all the time. So I mentioned one of our buyer personas, which is Flipper Fred, the guy who flips businesses. Another persona we have is what we call Portfolio Paul, and that's what you're kind of describing, I think. So what they are looking to do is they buy a bunch of different assets. Usually they're not like necessarily looking to grow the income. Like obviously that's a nice win, but that's not their big thing. They're just looking to maintain the business and have a bunch of different brands like spitting off cash flow. Typically, they do it in one model. So, like if you know SEO really well, you'd probably stick with content sites that are almost always going to be SEO driven. Maybe an e-commerce store that's SEO driven if you like e-commerce, but you will probably stick within the SEO vertical because that's what you know, and that's usually what a portfolio Paul does. Like so, they'll diversify not so much by business model, but more by just having multiple businesses that they get to leverage the same process or the thing that they know, right?
Sure.
So that's their model. They're like buy and hold, typically type of buyers, and sometimes they'll sell off their whole portfolio down the road for a bigger multiple because if you combine all these assets together and you were able to maintain them, one, just the fact that they're older is going to give them a better multiple, and the fact that you're packaging them together, as long as it makes sense, like if they have some synergy between the brands, then you can sell it for a much higher multiple. You can still sell like unrelated businesses as a package too, and you will get a multiple bump sometimes, but it's a little bit harder to sell something like that. But yeah, that's usually their strategy.
So what are the other personas, right? Because I mean, I have to call you out that that's a HubSpot thing. But anyways,
Where did you think I learned it from? They told me to make buyer persona. So for us, it's funny because like we have seller personas too, but when I say buyer persona, like it's useful for buyers to know these personas to self-identify as well. But we also use it in our marketing. So it's like buyer persona. I mean that in both the HubSpot way and as a business buyer way.
well, the secret though is that most of the people that use HubSpot, who actively use HubSpot, they can't make a persona. Have you ever
I
noticed that?
100 I 100% believe it. Like they can't make a persona in the software, or they just don't know how to make a persona for their own business.
They can't describe a persona for their own business.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. We use HubSpot, by the way. Like we use HubSpot, but HubSpot's marketing is so good, it makes it seem so simple. And I bet the vast majority of people sign up are they like take one look at it like, oh my God, I'm going back to Aweber.
Did did you hear about the whole inbound thing with me and HubSpot?
No, no, it's just, this is another Facebook argument.
No, 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 no. We, inbound, right? The
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
old inbound. So I think it was inbound 2014. I want to say we ended up showing up at inbound, and I wasn't there. Right, somebody had to stay behind and watch the shop. And again, I'm not a social guy, right? So I sent
Yeah.
out at the time my business partner. I think it was 2013, 2014, whatever. So we sent them out there with 5,000 t-shirts that were turquoise. Okay. And on the front of the t-shirt, it just said F you. Okay. Letter F, letter U. And then underneath that, because we were talking about disruptive marketing process or disruptive marketing, right? So underneath that in smaller letters, it said find us. Okay. And it's just a play on words. So I'm having a conversation with somebody over in the HubSpot world after the fact, right? And I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 hey, I call in for something. I need to know how to do this, this, and this. Who is this? Yeah, this is Brad, blah, blah, blah. You're the FU guy.
Yes.
I guess I am, right? Because they actually said that we were so disruptive because we gave out all of the t-shirts, 5,000 of them on Friday, and everybody wore them on Saturday or whatever day it was, right? I think it's during the week, right? So whatever the first day was, the second day, everybody's wearing their FU shirts. And all of the speakers are staring out at a big wave of t-shirts that all say FU back at them, right? Mission accomplished.
That's awesome, man. I love stuff like that. I was at a conference once where our competitor was showing up, and so it was in Thailand. And I told the guy that was working for me, "Hey, I got a special project for you." He's like, "What?" Like, I need you to research how much a billboard costs in Thailand. He's like, "What?" Like, yes, we're buying a billboard. So I bought this billboard. Like when you're coming from the airport to the hotel, like you have to pass by this billboard, and it's in like one of the more touristy spots where all the cool bars are too. So like better had to go see it. Like he had to see my sign. Like it said "Welcome to Thailand" with the Empire Flippers logo on it. Like go to valuationtool.io to get a free valuation for your online business. And then in Thai is "Welcome to Thailand" because you have to have a bit of Thai to make it legal. And
Sure.
we bought it for like $3,000. And I did this speech at the conference, and I said, like, the secret to internet marketing is billboard advertising on the next screen. Like everyone go take pictures with my billboard, tag Empire Flippers and the conference event, and let's meet up for like a few drinks. I had all these drunk SEOs like taking pictures with my billboard, right? It's just like it's populating everywhere. My
So
competitor like is just so pissed.
we have this thing here called I forget what it's called now, Blip or something like that, where it's digital billboards and you
Ah,
buy
cool.
impressions in different cities, and you just put up your stuff. And I had this awesome idea, okay? And I promise I can't imagine that you won't laugh. I guarantee that you're gonna laugh at what I say. Okay. See, you're already you're
I'm
I'm,
starting. I want to make
I'm
sure you win,
planting
Bradley.
the seed. Okay. So I came to the conclusion because I kind of did this by accident with my kid when he was 12 or something like that, that we wanted to mess around with this idea of starting a business because he was 12. Okay. And so I said, well, it has to be something that makes you laugh, buddy. Okay. And so we thought about it, thought about it, thought about it. And we ended up buying a whole bunch of these products, right? And I'll disclose what this is in a moment, but it has to be something that makes everybody feel good, that makes everybody smile. And I figured it out. Okay. That I don't care if you're 8 years old or you're 84 years old. There is one word that will make everybody giggle or at least smile, regardless of who they are. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Poop.
True. That's a great word.
No
Are
clue
you?
why, right? No clue why, but so we bought like these poop mugs, right? That you would drink the cup of coffee, and then in the bottom would be like this poop, but not real poop, right? We sold them off like 1,000 of them. But when they came out with this blip advertising thing, I said, man, oh man,
Oh man, the opportunities to advertise a poop mug across cities.
just the word, right? Just the word. I said, for $600, I can just show the word poop, right? All over the country.
It's an amazing time to be alive, isn't it?
And so I was getting ready to pull the trigger. And I was like, I'm going to do this. $600. It'll be the best $600 I ever spent, in the fact that people will be driving down a highway in New Jersey or Florida or California or whatever, and they will just see the word poop. Just the word poop. And so I was getting ready to pull the trigger, and I reached out to them. I think they're called Blip, right? And I said, this is what I want to do. And they said, yeah, you're not allowed to do that.
Ah,
I
damn.
said, what do you mean? Is there like some stupid law against it that I can't just write the word poop on a billboard? I mean, I was actually kind of offended. I'm like, this is a brilliant idea. And they said, no, we have a client that's in the sanitation, like they pump out porta potties or whatever. That's actually their trademark advertising, or non-compete within our thing. I was like, well, shit. And they said, well, you can use that word. I said, but that one's offensive. Poop makes everybody smile. Shit just doesn't have the same ring to it.
Shit mug because we couldn't call it a poop mug.
But that actually, you talk about how you close clients, and we're always talking about how we close clients and all this other stuff. I remember I was sitting in front of a financial advisor or something, and he's just giving me a hard time, and I'm like, dude, you need this. This was like at the beginning stages of my whole journey into not even understanding what an agency was. But I remember a retort when he was like, yeah, I don't think I need you, or no, he said, based on your cost, blah blah blah. And I was like, hey dude, I'm just going to tell you like it is. People are sitting on your face at bus stops, and you're paying them to do that. Okay, so don't come back at me and tell me that my stuff's too expensive when I'm actually putting in work that'll make your phone ring. He's like, yeah, good point. All right. So we have Flipper Fred, Portfolio
Portfolio Paul, and then we already discussed a bit about Newbie Norm, which is just
Newbie
someone
Norm.
brand new to online business. Pretty simple. Usually from a Newbie Norm, you become a DIY Dave, which is basically a DIY Dave is someone who has mastered a little bit of internet marketing. Maybe it's like an intermediate SEO at this point.
Sure.
And when they come to buy a business, they're like a Newbie Norm's business buying strategy should be you buy a pristine business. There shouldn't be any problems that you can see because you just don't have the skills to handle if there is a problem yet.
Sure.
So you want to put yourself in the best position. So if you're a Newbie Norm, don't be one of those buyers like I'm going to get the lowest price deal because it's similar to real estate. Like you can buy the lowest price property in the town and it'll make you the most money, but it also probably has the most problems, right? So
Don't
you want to
don't buy
buy,
the don't buy the crack house.
yeah, don't buy the crack house. Don't go into the war zone, right? Like give yourself some room to fail by buying a business that maybe is more expensive but has less problems that you can just like learn how it works. So that's a Newbie Norm thing. Over time, you become a DIY Dave, which is, again, you're intermediate. Now you can buy a business that maybe has some problems. Maybe you've gotten good at Google penalties or something like that. So you might proactively now look for a business that has a Google penalty. And we sell these sites too. We sometimes I get hit up like, why does Empire Flippers sell these shit sites that have a Google penalty? No one's buying this. You're like destroying the quality in your marketplace. But like they're wrong because there's people specifically who only buy those businesses because they know they can buy that business on a discount basically because they can fix the problem, right?
Sure.
So that's the DIY Dave, and there's also Lifestyle Larry, who is pretty straightforward. They're buying a business not because they want to like scale something big. They're just looking for something that allows them to quit their job and enjoy their life more. They're not even really necessarily like passionate about business in general. They're more passionate about what it can give them for their life. So those three, they're kind of like all intermixed. Eventually, a DIY Dave could often become a Flipper Fred, and Flipper Freds can be Portfolio Pauls. And then you get to the last two, which is Investor Ivan. Investor Ivan is a very intriguing one. We talked about this guy for a long time in our marketing, but he's only really appeared on the scene in a big way in the last year and a half. And this is basically someone who has raised millions of dollars of capital to go out and acquire businesses. So we're starting to see that now enter our space in content and FBA. So we call another name for them is institutional buyers. So they have a lot of capital, high net worth individual. They often have a degree in MBA, like an MBA in finance, stuff like that. So then the last one, which is the rarest form of buyer, but if you're the seller, they're like one of the best buyers for you, and that's Strategic Sally. So Strategic Sally, her whole thing is 1+1=5. So what she's doing, say she has like a fitness course, like a fitness info course, and you sell a jump rope, she comes and buys your jump rope business and uses those two businesses synergy to play off of each other and grow each other. So that's her whole thing. She's willing to pay the absolute most for a business because her acquiring your business will probably make her a lot more money than someone else acquiring your business because of that synergy.
Do you have an example? I'll give you an example if you don't have one, but in real, oh gosh, wow, brick and mortar, not real, right? I don't want to talk about real businesses,
All
right?
fake
Oh my God,
businesses.
almost just, yeah, wow. Anyhow, so Menards did that. That's Menards' business model. I don't know. Are you
Menard.
familiar with Menards at
That
all?
isn't that like a tool company or something like that, right?
Well, it's like a Home Depot. Okay.
Yeah. Menards. I know. I've never been in a Menards, but I know of Menards.
So what they did was they started buying their suppliers. And so, they started selling like who's the lock company? I can't. It starts with an S or something. I am so terrible at names of things. Anyhow, there's like a whatever the lock set, doorknob company is, right?
Yeah.
So they went into that market. They started, all of these suppliers, and then they found somebody that they could actually buy that made products, but they were kind of struggling. So they went in and they built that business up. Well, now they lowered their, cost threshold with whatever their products were. And then they could offer their brand of products against huge competition and for so much less money. And they were just doing that over and over again. Well, if you look at all of their assets now of what Menards owns, I mean, they own freaking forests in Oregon and Washington. They own chemical companies that make swimming pool chemicals. They even own food companies now, just because of all. And so that's that Sally model, right? That they're
That's actually a mix. That's a mix of you'll find there's a lot of crossovers between these. So like being one doesn't mean you can't like do other things, but I would say that's more of a mix of Investor Ivan and Strategic Sally because what they're doing is a very Investor Ivan strategy of acquisition. So an Investor Ivan, they might come to an FBA business and similar deal. Maybe it's making $10,000 a month and this person is like reinvesting like all that 10 grand to try to get that economies of scale, right? And it's stressing them out. They're like credit card debt from this every month. Of course, they pay off their credit card every month, but it's just like this hamster wheel, right? So Investor Ivan or institutional buyer comes in and gives them a sweet deal, like, hey, you can finally cash out on all this equity you've built finally. And they're like, yes, please take it. And then Investor Ivan can go to that supplier, the logistic chain, like, I want to order 10,000 more units. And just like that, because they're so well funded, they can get those economies of scale super quick. Whereas the seller, it's a real uphill battle to be able to get to that place, right? So
sure.
that's what like Menard's doing. But then they have the strategic Sally part where they're building off of each other at the same time, right?
Sure. Absolutely. And I probably didn't explain it well, but I think that's what Menards is kind of trying to do, or just, yeah, hedge their bets. I don't know, but I
It's a smart
definitely.
strategy.
Did you know that that's how that I learned SEO through working a company that my last corporate gig was working them out of penalty?
Really? Working out of a penalty.
Oh yeah, they got hit with Panda Penguin hard. They were the
Oh
reason
man.
why Panda Penguin happened. When you looked at the first 13 pages within any of their verticals on Google, it was a shell operation that led you back to that company. Okay. So that's how I actually learned SEO. And literally the owner came over to me and he's like, hey, you're a pretty smart fella. I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, our phones aren't ringing anymore. I said, yeah. I was in sales. Okay. No shit. I'm telling on myself because literally back then I didn't know how to change my email signature in my email. That's how dumb I was to digital. He came over and he's like, yeah, there was like some stupid thing like with something called Panda and Penguin and all that. And we're not on the internet anymore. I said, well,
We're not on the internet. This guy hit real hard. We're not on the internet anymore.
you could direct search, right? But anyways, he said, well, you're a pretty smart fella, so I need you to fix this for us. I was like, what? Like, you want me to deal with animals or something?
What are you talking about?
Like bears and birds? You know what I mean? And so sure as shit, me and another guy actually worked through this whole process of working them out of penalty. And then I got done and I was like, 36, 35, something like that. I had a heart attack while I was at work. I'm a glutton for punishment, man. Stress induced heart attack. Anyways, I was back to work 32 hours later.
Gotta fight these pandas, these penguins.
Bring them birds on. But I went back to him and I was like, hey, man, I bust my ass for you. And I've been working here for a long time now, or 2 years or whatever. Quadrupled your annual revenue, right? And then I figure out this whole Google stuff for you. I said, I deserve a raise. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm pretty good with where you're at right now. And I said, fine, I quit. That's how I started doing what I'm doing now.
Man, that's funny, man. Bosses, people like just I don't know. I'm happy to always give raises to be. I want to pay my employees more as long as they can prove that they can do more, right? Like,
Sure.
I think that's awesome. So,
Well, to an extent, it's I've had that. Yeah, there's different kinds of employees, and
that's a fair point.
some of them don't deserve. Some of them you wish you could pay less. Realistically, right?
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, right? Because you bring in employees and you're creating this family. And then what you realize is and oh my God, people are gonna hate what I'm about to say. You might even hate what I'm about to say next.
Oh, great.
There's there's always the same personalities in the workforce. Okay. And I can't name them. And I'm sure there's probably some shrink out there that's writing a book right now that's literally talking about what I'm about to say next.
All of a sudden, you need the HubSpot buyer persona blog post.
Yeah. Well, so what I noticed was, let's say I had 12 different personalities in my workplace. Okay. With me being the 12th, just as an example. So I have 11 other personalities. There would probably be one that would try and imitate my personality, but do it in a very subservient way, or a submissive way, or whatever you want to call it, whatever that word is. And then you would have all of these other personalities. But what I noticed is there was always a troublemaker. Okay. Always a troublemaker that you ended up getting rid of. And as soon as you got rid of that person, well, you didn't hire another troublemaker. What happened is you hired a personality that already existed in your office, and then somebody else shifted over into that seat. So 2 months ago, they were your favorite employee, but you got rid of this employee, and then they moved over into the shithead bucket, right? And I literally used to call it that. Don't put yourself in the shithead bucket. Oh, so I'm a shithead? Well, you might be. Right? You make that decision. But you end up realizing that regardless of how hard you work at it, that my God, man, I mean, you're always going to have. That's why I'm so glad, right? I'm so glad to be teaching other people how to do things differently at this point, because you're always going to have somebody in the shithead bucket. You know what I mean?
I've been fortunate. I've only had that experience once, and when I did get rid of that person, luckily no one moved over to fill the place yet. knock on wood.
You're so
I've been lucky so far.
you're so lucky, right? I mean, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I've talked to multiple business owners, and they're like, yeah, you're just always going to have that one, and maybe that seat sits vacant for a while, but I always recommend to everybody, and I don't know if you've read this book, but I highly recommend it. And it proves that I do know how to read. But and I actually have, and I don't get paid for this plug either, but I've actually sold enough of this author's books, this one book of his, that he sent me an autographed copy of
Awesome.
his book. Right? It's called Traction by Gino Wickman.
Oh yeah, it's a good book. I've read it before as well. In fact, when I first came on with EF, our co-founders, my bosses, they gave me a copy. Like, you must read this.
Yeah. I push that out so hard, and I think that Gino actually should just give me a penny every time I mention his book. Just a penny, dude. I don't need a lot, right? But he actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he's like, "Are you the guy who just keeps selling all my books for me?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Maybe.
And he's like, "Well, you just kept posting on like LinkedIn and all this other stuff, and I just really want to tell you, how much I appreciate it. I want to send you an autographed copy of my book." And I was like, I kind of feel special, dude. Normally I have to pay for autograph copies and stuff, and you're just willing to give one to me for free. Anyway, so you would recommend other people probably do the same thing, especially before you hire your first employee. It might help out a little bit, right?
that book and it just, I mean, we're so off topic now, but like just management in general. I love the book Drive. I think is really good because one of the theses in that book that talks about how people think financial incentives will make someone better by giving them more financial incentives, but it almost never happens. Like
Right.
he makes the argument that your pay that you give to someone is more like a hygiene habit, right? Like you want to brush your teeth because you want to keep your teeth. Like you should be able to give that person enough money that makes them happy where they don't think about money, so they just think about the problem that they're trying to solve with you, right? Or
Mhm.
like money is never an issue for them, and it's a fine balance there. But yeah, it's a really good book on management, like how to get people to think of like bigger purposes. They're very similar to a lot of stuff Traction talks about, actually.
So the other thing too is, when you look at money versus titles, right? So I haven't read that book, but I'm going to. I promise. Who wrote it? Who wrote it?
Man, what is this? I'll look it up. I don't
Malcolm
remember.
Gladwell? It's not a Malcolm
Not
Gladwell book.
No, it's not Gladwell.
Yeah, I'll look it up. That's fine. But the whole title thing, right? So you always end up with the employee, and we'll get back on track here in a moment, right? I promise.
One of these.
So the employee that they have to have a title, right? So you know what my title was?
What? What was your title?
The other guy.
The other guy.
And they're like, but you're the owner. No, no, I'm just the other guy. Right?
It's on the business card. When I became the director of marketing, it's quite funny, man. I was fixing our About Us page, and I noticed the other two directors. This is when I realized I was the director. Actually, it was this moment. It was because I had been promoted, but I never really thought about it. I was just kind of always just doing my thing, and I saw like, wait, director of operations, director of sales. My thing still says content manager. Fuck you guys. I was the director of marketing. I was the first one. I was like the first manager of the company, but like I just don't care about titles really. So like I never updated it. So people just thought I was like the blogger still.
Look, so I have this terrible habit. Like, I don't think people even realize. I mean, so we would go to like these social networking things, and so I was at the company Lead Pages.
Yeah. I'm familiar with them.
So I get invited to this. I don't even know what it was. I mean, it was probably 5, 6 years ago, but they were doing this big thing where they had gotten some sort of venture capital from Atlassian invested in Lead Pages.
Mhm.
So I get invited to this big party thing that they're having at their headquarters, and when I show up, um, one of two things happens in my world. Either if I care to impress other people, I will dress to the nines, right? I mean, there will not be a thread out of place, but that isn't my normal everyday
Yeah.
thing. And so I showed up to this event for lead pages, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, right? But I was invited by the CEO of Mentormate, Bjorn, and he was like, yeah, come to this thing, blah blah blah. And I was like, dude, I don't wanna, right? I can be like a 4-year-old when I really don't want to do something. I can be like a 4-year-old, right? And he's like, no, 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 this is good stuff, and show support and blah blah blah, and I want you to be my guest, right? And I was like, do I get to dress up? And he's like, well, probably. And I said, well, how much do I have to dress up? Are we talking like your business casual or my business casual? So it comes to the day of the thing, right? And I show up, and it was just a cluster fuck, right? It's a terrible thing. But so it's just this big cluster, and I forgot about it. And I remembered roughly about 20 minutes before I was supposed to be there. Okay, so imagine you're due for and I'm going through this whole thing. I'm like, yeah. So I showed up as is. I'm talking like flip flops, regular t shirt that probably said go F yourself on it or whatever you want
Hey,
to.
find us.
Probably one of those things.
Recycling my shirt.
So I show up, and I go to this, I go in, and it's a lot of people, and I don't like a lot of people. I don't like people, much less a lot of people all at the same time. You're like elbow to elbow. So I find Bjorn, and I go over, and when I walk up, this young guy, right? And this is important. There's actually a lesson in what I'm about to say. Not for you. Okay. So I go up, and there's this young guy who is 20 nothing. Okay. And I'm literally baseball cap, t-shirt, flip flops, cargo shorts. We're on, right? Probably brought my own coffee with me. Right? So I go in there, and hey Bjorn, how you doing? And this kid comes over, and he walks up, and he starts talking to Bjorn. And Bjorn is kind of a big guy, right? I don't know if you know who Bettermate is, but they're owned by Taylor Corporation, and they do app development, like uh, what NATO, their application and website and all that stuff. That's
Oh
Bettermate.
wow.
Right? So I go over, and I'm talking to Bjorn. Hey man, good, thanks for inviting me, blah blah blah. And I literally, I'm timing in my mind like, can I just spend like 2 minutes and then find a reason that I gotta leave, right? Like I did my thing, and this young 20 nothing comes over, and he just starts talking at Bjorn, right? I looked over, and I said, you don't have any manners, okay? He looks at me, and he sizes me up, right? I said, we were just having a conversation, and you need to wait your turn, I think is what I said. And he said, well, I'm the CEO of. I said, you're not the CEO of shit, okay? And he just looks at me, and I said, I'm just going to tell you as nicely as I can. All right, take that suit back to Macy's when you're done, okay? Because it doesn't fit you well. It's off the rack. And I said, I
Why
don't.
do you not go to parties, man? You sound like a blast at parties. I would love to be at a party with you.
But then this guy, okay, I said, look, you don't even have any employees. I can tell because you're eager to have a conversation with a whole bunch of people that don't want to have a conversation with you back, and you don't even know any manners, right? And he's like, I'm a CEO, and he pulls his business card out of his pocket, or like a little card carrying thing, right? And he hands me a card, and I said, great, kid, you spent $10 at Vistaprint. Use the TV 500 code, and that makes you a CEO, and you went and bought a suit at Macy's. And I said, but what you don't know is how to wait your turn and not interject into a conversation that's already happening, right? So I don't know, he was pissed off. I found out after the fact who he was, and he was everything I claimed to be. I claimed him to be, right? But the point I'm trying to make is, being real, right? Because people see through that, and you never know when you're going to walk into me, right? who can
Yes.
who can literally.
That's the big thing that why you should always be authentic in case you meet a Bradley on your
Oh,
journey.
but I'm not unique. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
And it's kind of funny that everybody's so excited to get into business and they're just so overly confident. I just tell everybody that they're sweating confidence, but what they need to be sweating is knowledge.
Competency, yeah.
Yeah,
Competency over confidence, yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of the point that I was making. That going back to why we're having this conversation is the reason why I brought you on the show is because I think there's an opportunity for people to actually learn the tools of what it takes to do the job for themselves. And as they're learning and teaching themselves, they can also claim that they have the knowledge that they really have
Right.
versus walking in blind and vomiting the same. The reason why I picked on HubSpot is because I've sat in so many hug groups, HubSpot user groups. I've sat in, we used to be a HubSpot partner. Okay.
Yeah.
I would sit through these hug things and I was like, anyways, but you can, you know what I mean? You're not spitting out somebody else. You're not vomiting out somebody else's story. Right. And that's why
Yeah,
I've always
right.
I've picked on HubSpot, but I've also picked on Marketo. Right. And I've picked on that cult mentality that if you're standing in front of me trying to get me to hire you as a business owner now, I've heard that before, right?
Right,
So,
right.
so this gives somebody the opportunity to learn the process, to not make blanket, just baseless claims of
Filler statements, all the yeah.
we do SEO.
But reply with a 1 if you want 20 leads this week, right? Those emails work too. Like, it always blows my mind with that stuff. But
Well, and we did that with the CRO thing with Craig. I went through 30 CRO hacks, and Craig, Craig.
yeah, very well. I love Craig.
Yeah, I would adopt him. Don't tell him that. I said that either, right? Just such a nice guy, right? But we went through the whole CRO thing, and I started getting feedback from like veterans. I mean, these people have been in, and I made a claim, and I said, I don't care how long you've been doing digital. Here are 30 hacks, and you will not know about one of them, guaranteed. I don't care who you are. I put that challenge out there, and all of a sudden, people are watching this video, and they're like, holy shit, dude, I've been doing this for 10 years. I never heard of number 8, right? Always be learning. Learn how to convert traffic. But I literally wanted to give people tools that, one, nobody cares about what you think you know, they care about what you actually know. Learn how to get traffic to a website, learn how to rank content, learn how to write content, learn how to build links. Buy a website from you, right?
No, of course,
Or
this is
sell.
part of the path, right?
Yeah. But learn the tools, go see Diggity, not because I'm trying to earn him money. He's okay. But learn,
So he's definitely okay on the money front. Yeah.
yeah, he's all right. He's not going to sit in the bread line if you don't buy his course. Pretty sure about that. But learn the processes, work the business. Craig said something about work on your business, not in your business, which I think
100%.
and going through the motions of learning SEO, learning affiliate marketing, and going through the process of learning and honing those skills gives you every opportunity to take what you're doing at Empire Flippers and complement the agency side with something that is, I gotta admit, pretty damn good.
I gave a speech in Australia to a bunch of agency owners. This is your audience is agency owners. I think this would be helpful. So I think in a lot of ways, especially in an internet marketing space where we're starting so many new things all the time, like in my opinion, you don't become like you're not in business until you sell your first business, because that opens up like so many doors of possibilities for you. But as an agency owner, you're in an especially interesting spot. So like yes, you should go and build an affiliate site and get your hands dirty, all that kind of stuff, and like, learn it. But at the same time, as you're building your agency, you should start looking at your agency as like a little private equity firm, where you take your account managers over time and say you buy an affiliate site from us. Well, most agency owners, why they fail, in my experience at least, with other assets outside of clients, is because they never treat their other asset like they treat their clients. Like you just mentioned, you built all these affiliate sites for other
Mhm.
people as clients, right? Like, so you, when you buy an asset, like an affiliate site, onboard it as if it was a client. And there's a little mental trick you can do where you even have that asset paying your agency. So
Mhm.
even your employees are like, okay, well, it's definitely adding to the bottom line. And like that sounds so silly. Like I'm paying myself. Like, but trust me, like that little like mental flip will allow you to actually work on it, because now you're having your team that you have built working on this site just like any other client. And over
Mhm.
time, what happens is, say you have a person working for you that is amazing. Well, what happens to that person in most agency life cycles, right? They go and start their own agency because they're like, I want to be my own boss. I think I can do it better. So you lose all this great talent, which is the only real asset an agency has in terms of value a lot of the times. That are so difficult to sell. So instead of losing that very talented person, what you do is you take that asset that you've been building and you give that person an actual equity stake in that business. So now it goes from an account manager to this like mini CEO of this brand you bought, and they're like growing it while you go out and find other assets. And maybe you put like
Sure.
a few assets underneath this one person, or maybe there's one big asset underneath multiple people. But yeah, I call it from AMs to CEOs, basically account managers to
Yep.
CEOs.
Yep. I
Uh,
got you. That's a pretty interesting concept. That goes back to our ESOP conversation from before we started recording, but that's definitely a very, I think that's a very positive way, or that's a very good way to create positive energy, right? I mean, when
yeah,
you give somebody an ownership stake, I mean, you have to be careful with that, right?
you do. I mean, like, you don't want to give it to the person in the shithead bucket,
Yeah. Right. Hey, shithead, here's
right?
equity, right? But no, you bring up a good point that that's a great reward that keeps them driving. So when we look at how do we motivate employees, and we're going to get into a show of down the road, right? I have all of these things written out about hiring your first employee, because let me tell you, I hired about three bad ones before I ever found the first good one. And then the one that I thought was a good one ended up in the shithead bucket in the end, like 4 months later, but whatever. But there's, I like that. I like the idea of using the assets based on what you're talking about in building up the external assets, and using equity interest to drive positive energy and positive influence within your
Yeah.
culture,
Uh,
if you will.
do you know the company ClearScope?
I don't.
So they're an on-page tool, clearscope.io. So that owner, the founder of that company, he was at that speech I gave in Australia. He's from America, but he came out because he was speaking at the conference too. And he came up to me afterwards, like, dude, you just literally described what my life was at an agency, because he was so burned out from agency. He did the exact same thing that I was telling the other agency owners to do, and which led to him starting ClearScope, basically. So
Sure. Well, it's and you're bringing up a good point that as excited as everybody is at the beginning to be an agency owner, it does become a drag, and there's
yes,
no way around it. I mean,
it's very hard.
it's the aha moment of and I don't know if you knew this, but or know this, but I just started firing clients, and I woke up one day and I said, I'm not having fun anymore. And do you sell it? No, I just started firing clients. And
And even if you wanted to sell it, though, like agencies are so hard to sell
sure,
because
because
of
there's no
because of all
there's
those
no real
problems.
asset.
Yeah,
So the client contract is the asset, but unless you have hard, just rock solid contracts in place, what are you selling? I mean, you're selling,
yeah.
you have a one year.
Maybe the team, the talent you have with you. Yeah,
Well, the talent is an employee is always a liability.
it
And
is.
people,
It's very transitory.
yeah, and people will argue with that, and it's like, no, no, go talk to your accountant, and then after your accountant teaches you about assets and liabilities, come back and talk to me, right? So sad but true. So it becomes a drag, and then literally, I think it was February of this year that I said I'm done, right? Like literally, people don't even know this, but February, I just said, I'm done. I'm getting rid of all my clients. Everybody was like, well, what are you going to do? I don't know, but I don't like this. Right.
Uh,
So, and that's pretty sad. 8.245 million, right? Annual revenue. Done. Well, you should, no, I shouldn't do anything. Go home, right? Wait, you're already at home. Everybody works from home, right? We're done. And I mean, I think I blew everybody's mind, right? They're like, well, how do you do that? Yeah, I just literally woke up one day and said, I don't like my life right now. And I don't like my life because, and I'm telling on myself that I was a bad owner, right? Because I wasn't invested in employees and I wasn't invested in, I didn't ever want to be anybody's manager. And people would come to me and say, how do you do this? And I'd say, could you just please leave me alone? Right. I just want to put puzzles together. And people would say, hey, what do you want to do? I just want to do SEO. And I really like building websites, and I don't know why I really like building websites because it's not profitable to build websites at all. Right. I mean, it's literally the worst business model.
it's definitely the ground has fallen out on that one for sure.
Yeah. But I actually woke up the one day and I said, okay, when was the last time I did SEO? It's probably been 3 or 4 months. When was the last time I built a website? 6 months. Right. And those are the two things that I really like doing because I like building the website and I don't like designing a website. I like building a website to know all of the inner workings, to set it up exactly the way I want it set up, to be able to SEO it the best from a content standpoint and receive the most reward. But I wasn't able to do that. And then finally I just said, I'm done. Okay.
That's so much like that E-Myth Revisited book, right? With like the baker is like, I want to start a bakery, and then he does and realizes I don't get to bake anymore. I'm like an accountant, I'm a marketer, I'm a manager,
Right.
but I never bake.
Yeah. And you know what my professional nickname is, right?
What's that?
Rain Man. Not for any good reason.
It's even better.
Literally, there's two reasons why my nickname is Rain Man. One, I don't understand money. Okay, so I'm telling on myself. All right, I don't understand money, and that's kind of a false statement because I do understand money, but I don't understand value. Okay, which is tough because I can sell something and I can value something, but I don't understand value coming back. And the way I explain this to people is, let's assume that you owned a coffee shop and I walk into your coffee shop and you tell me that a cup of coffee at your coffee shop is $500. I will pay you $500 for that cup of coffee. Right? You can walk to the register with your $500 cup of coffee and I'll take my debit card and I'll put it in the machine, right? And I'll pay for your $500 cup of coffee and I'll walk out the door. How sad is that? That's Rain Man, right?
That is a brilliant coffee shop owner right there.
And my girlfriend will yell at me all the time. She'll be like, why did you pay like $80 for pizza? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, you paid $80 for pizza. I'm like, who cares, right? That's terrible. I'm telling on myself. But the second reason why, Rain Man is because I just wanted to sit back and do puzzles. I wanted to put puzzles together. And that's what SEO was. It's like, here's the problem and here's why it's not getting from point A to point B, and take all these puzzle pieces and move them together. Now, there you go. It's moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Didn't get to do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, firing your clients to go and focus on that, I think is actually probably a pretty healthy move, man. Like in terms of like what you can do, everything we just discussed in here are like open to that, right? Like
Sure.
most of the buyer personas I mentioned earlier, most of them are solopreneurs. They might have like a VA or something like that, but they don't usually have a big team.
Sure.
Obviously, Investor Ivan, Strategic Sally, they're a little bit different, but
Well,
yeah.
and let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. Let's be real and honest with each other for just a moment, right?
always, Brad.
Well, I'm always honest. It's just whether I'm brutally honest, right? So somebody who just started an agency today, they're not making any money anyways. Okay, they really aren't, and they're probably not going to make any money for the first 2, 3, 4, 6 months anyhow. So if they're building out an affiliate site, they're at least learning the tools that's going to pay them money. And that's not going to pay them money right away either, maybe.
Oh, very long timeline usually.
But at the same time, it gives them an opportunity to supplement their income and do other things, or they can go deliver pizzas or whatever they whatever they want
Yeah.
to do, right?
Well, if you're an agency owner, like one thing you can do starting off, because affiliate site tends to have a long timeline, but one thing you can do, like especially if you're just focusing on like one local market,
Mhm.
is you can just build a lead gen site that's ranking in that market, and then later on either rent that site out or use that site as the case study for your other clients that you can rank ship to. And that's another way to supplement it. Could be, it depends on the competition, might be faster than an affiliate site. It just depends on
So
the
I do want to give a disclaimer
demographic.
on that, though, that if you buy or build a lead gen site and you pay Dan Klein, who I don't know, but I absolutely despise,
I have no idea what that is. At least I don't think I do.
over at JK Job Killer or whatever. I mean, he's just like the biggest
Mm.
scumbag. I don't even know who this guy is. But after you pay him $7,000 to $8,000 to lie to you
Ah,
about
one of these
lead,
guys.
do not show up in my inbox on Facebook with your sob story of how your wife's about to divorce you if you don't make your lead gen site work for plumbers in Phoenix, Arizona, and beg me to somehow magically do SEO, local SEO, which whatever, to somehow make up for your bad decision, right? Not that that's happened at least 100 times.
I see the gurus are on this vector, this vertical here that I described.
Yeah, you've never heard of job killing?
No, I think I've heard of the term. Maybe I've been to the guy's site. Like, I don't know, man. Since I worked at EF, I get hit up by gurus all the time, man. I mean, we had this one guru. He's quite famous now for a entrepreneur, but I was hanging out with him in a penthouse in Bangkok at a conference, and he was like, "Man, why didn't you guys sell my business? It's worth like at least 1.4 million." I was like, "No, it wasn't, man. We went through vetting. It was worth 400K. It's still a solid business." And he just like could not get over the fact that his business is not worth over seven figures. Like, and then one of his business partners, who's even bigger entrepreneur in the SEO space, actually, he overheard this. He's like, "I like the way you talk about business. I think we could do something where with my students where we can get a bunch of EF employees or a bunch of EF businesses sold by collaborating." And I was like the only reason I was in this penthouse, by the way, is because of this SEO guru dude who
Sure.
I almost was the guy who bought the $8,000 course from this guy back when I was in the oil field and depressed and wanting
Ooh.
out. Like,
Do
I
I
was
know?
the target.
Do I
What
know
was
who?
that?
Do I know who it is?
I don't like to publicly
Yeah,
shame people,
yeah.
but you probably do. I'll tell you offline.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, I almost bought this guy's course because I was the guy that those predators prey on, and like
Sure.
desperate, all that kind of stuff. So I had this opportunity where I spoke at the conference. He spoke at the conference. I was like, oh, I'm definitely meeting this guy. Like this guy is so controversial. I want to know this guy. I'm just curious. What's he like? And he was as bad as people said, right? And just super aggressive and really weird. And he had this like thing where he would go from being like nice to asshole, like super quick. It was like he had these lanterns in this dark hallway with all these different tunnels. And he's just like going towards the light, and then one lantern will go off, another lantern come off, just like goes opposite direction. Like, what is going on with this guy? It's like a tornado. But anyways, he
Almost like
in
they're
this
almost like they're manic depressive or something.
Yes, 100%. So he told me like I like the way you talk about business, which was creepy. But I was drinking all his whiskey, so I was like, whatever, like and he was like,
I like
my
the way I
business,
talk about business too.
yeah, like this is great. And he was like, we could set up this deal with my business partner. And I was like, well, who's your business partner? And he's like, Ty Lopez. I was like, okay, well, I'm probably not gonna do that then. And he's like, why? Like, I don't like Ty. And he's like, but he sold so much business, and he sold so much stuff. I was like, look, dude. Ty, and this is when he stopped being aggressive with me after I said this to him. Like, look, dude, if Ty Lopez came up to me and he had like a barrel full of like millions of dollars to work with me, I would take a lighter, pour oil on it, or gasoline and like light it on fire, dude. That's how much I'm not going to fucking work with him. He's a predator. I don't want to work with him. And then he was just like stumped. He was just like, like, because this whole time he was building up like pictures of him in a Lambo, Ferrari, all this other bullshit, like just like constantly needed me to like validate him, like he's successful. Like, dude, you make like way more money than me. Why am I validating you? Like, but yeah. So like the moment I said this to him, he's just like totally changed. Like, yeah, he could be a dick sometimes. Like, you think? Yeah, these gurus, man, they drive me nuts.
somebody did that in an SEO group. I want to say it was that what's his name, Walker's group, and I'm not even in that group anymore. Mastermind something or other, superstars or whatever. But I don't participate in the groups very often. And somebody asked a question, and I said, "Here's how you do this." Right now, for some reason, I don't know why. Right, the one thing that people should really look at my Facebook page before they try and troll me in a group. You know what I mean?
you troll as much as me. You can't be trolled.
The difference is I don't troll in groups. I bring them into my page. You know what I mean?
Come into my home, into my home base.
Come into my house and drink my Kool-Aid, right? So I said something, and in one of the groups, I said, "Well, here's how you do this," right? Because they asked an honest question, I gave them an honest answer, and then some dude came back and he's like, "That's not the way you do this," blah blah blah, right? And then everybody else just kind of jumps in because I don't really participate in the groups ever, right? So nobody really even knows who I am, and thank God, you know what I mean? Because and then but one of them, and I don't know, we'll compare notes afterwards, but I think it's one of those people that you're talking about, right?
Could be.
This is how you do this. And I said, no, that's not how you do that. Frankly, I don't even remember what it was. Well, how do you know? I said, as a matter of fact, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. There's absolutely 0% chance that anybody will ever be successful doing what you just said. Okay. And he said, well, I sell courses, blah, blah, blah. And I said, and you know what I mean? I'm not impressed. Well, what do you mean you're not impressed? I said, anybody can take a picture in front of somebody else's Ferrari at a restaurant and put it on the Facebook page. Okay. I said, but frankly, I just looked at your profile picture, the one of you standing in front of your Ferrari, and that's an off the rack suit, dude. And I will tell you right now that if you can afford a Ferrari, you are not buying an off the rack suit to stand in front of that Ferrari and take a picture. Guaranteed.
There was a funny video of a guy who got caught. He was one of the influencers. He was like standing in front of a Ferrari in this like nice rich neighborhood in California talking about financial freedom, and then the owner of the house comes out like, "Get off of my Ferrari!" Like, what are you doing? And like someone that took the Instagram video of this interaction of like supposedly a entrepreneur in real time.
Well, you're the guy that you mentioned, Ty Lopez, he got caught.
Oh yeah, multiple times. Yeah.
How's that leased rented car that you're talking about owning? Sorry, dude, not buying it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or we had somebody in our industry that claimed to work. I know this person watches this, but I had to call him out because he said something about working over at 97th floor and he worked at Google and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I happen to know the owner over at 97th floor, right? I'll just mention first names. No, I'll mention names because I don't care about busting people out. But so I reached out to the owner, Chris, and I said, hey, dude, did this guy Shyler Mew, he work for you? And he said, Shyler who? I was like, well, he claimed to work on like the Dr. Axe campaign or something, and he's like, no. Right? reached out over to a couple of contacts over at Google. I said, this guy ever work for you? No. I guess my point is understanding who you're listening to, because
yeah, it's very easy. I mean, even me, when I first started out, man, I thought that was the way to do it. I didn't know any better. I was like doing a YouTube video about business stuff. I had no clue what the fuck I was talking about, right? Like, but I knew like a little bit. I was 18 and 19, just really excited to get in. I
Sure.
was never went like guru level. I was always trying to proactively help. I remember I did this whole speech on relationship marketing when I was 18, and I made 5 grand in 4 hours or 5 grand in an hour from that speech. I'm like, oh man, I made it, man. This might have been the moment where I could have become a guru, but like I just, that's not my thing. I want to provide value. So it was this business consulting thing I sold to an Allstate franchise owner, and I started working for him on the social media stuff and all this other stuff. And we get like 4 months in, I can barely like afford gas to go and like help him with this consultation because like I burned through all the money like a stupid 18-year-old, and plus the
Sure.
actual cost of like running this stuff because I felt bad because he was so bad with computers. Like I had to help him like how to turn it on, And at the end of the 4 months, he was like, Greg, I knew when I gave you that 5 grand, I was getting a great deal because you way underpriced yourself. You're at about $3 an hour at this point.
Oh, oh yeah.
like,
Or the whole HubSpot thing. So I was a HubSpot partner like way back, right? And there's two things. Like one, we were in that HubSpot. Like everything was HubSpot. What should I use? HubSpot. Well, what else? HubSpot. I still use HubSpot CRM kind of for things that I really don't care about, but I don't really use HubSpot anymore. And it's not because I dislike them, but because they kind of, and I know I'm picking on you guys because you guys use HubSpot. This isn't intentional, Greg, I promise. But
no, I have many frustrations with HubSpot. I am not part of the HubSpot call. Don't worry.
they did certain things really well, and then they just kind of plateaued, right? So they didn't always fit the mold of what we were trying to formulate for a client, right?
Yeah.
So it's nothing against them. But things change. So we did the whole HubSpot thing, but then the realization, I'll never forget. It was a real slap in the face. I was actually standing in. We had done a presentation with the CEO and the whole board and everything else to get this client, and the client said, "Well, can you do SEO?" And I said, "Yeah. We can do SEO." And he's like, "Well, how do you know what I rank for?" Okay. Now, the truth of the matter, Greg, is I wasn't ever doing SEO. I thought I was doing SEO, but and I
I've
actually
been
had,
in this kind of situation.
I had clients that were paying me to do SEO, but I couldn't tell them how they ranked or where they ranked for any keywords because I didn't even know that there were tools out there that did that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great example for your audience if they're just starting out. Like, you don't need to be like a crazy expert to sell something. All you need to do, I tell this to my new hires actually, when they first come on join with us, they're part of my content team. It's pretty stressful because you need to know a lot about online business. We're a business broker, right? But you also need to know content marketing. There's a lot of stuff. So I make them work 7 days a week for the first month and a half, which most of it is reading books, like and
Mm-hmm.
taking notes and going through courses, right? Like a boot camp, right? But you don't need to know that much in a lot of ways to make money, a lot as much as you might think. Like, you just need to know more than 99% of the people. If you listen to this podcast right here, you are there because most people don't know anything what Bradley and I are talking about, right?
Yeah.
So
So there's a lot of really smart people that are broke.
yes, a
Okay.
lot of dumb people are very rich.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point that I'm making though is one of the things that I learned from the car business is there's what they call a 90-day wonder in the car business. You ever heard that as a sales term?
I haven't. I used to be a salesman for Lazy Boy, but we didn't have that term.
Okay, so the car business is very crude,
Yes.
extremely crude, and we had what they called 90-day wonders, and what they would do is they would give somebody a draw, and they'd bring them in and they'd give them whatever minimal training that they needed to be able to do a walk around on a car. And nobody's really selling a car in the car business as a salesperson. The salespeople don't know that. The sales manager sells the car. The
Yeah.
salesman presents the numbers and does a walk around, right? And most of the time anymore, the salesperson doesn't even close the sale. The sales manager comes in and does that too. So anyhow, We call them 90-day wonders because they would hire into the car business, and the car business figured out that there were it was could people sell past the 90-day mark, because the first 90 days was all the sales were based on emotion, which is brilliant
Yeah.
because a car dealership doesn't really care how many salespeople they have, because
Because
they'll
of how
hire.
many sales. Yeah, you don't pay them anything, right? So
Well, they're paying them a draw, but at the
yeah.
same time, they could hire 100 salespeople, bring them in for the first 90 days, and they would get all the business of their friends and family. All they have to do is keep hiring salespeople, right? Then after 90 days, they'd sold everybody that they knew a car and their family a car, and they didn't care if they quit. They didn't
uh,
care if they failed at that point, right? So 90 days, 90-day wonders, and that's kind of important, is not losing that emotional commitment and that excitement and that enthusiasm, right? Of here's why you're doing it, but doing it for the right reasons. And I think that, I can honestly guarantee that a lot of sales are still made based on emotion over price.
Oh, 100%, man. Like it's just in marketing, right? Like in my opinion, nothing is ever sold unless it was bought on emotion. Like you buy it on emotion, and then you back up and justify the decision with logic, right? Like old copywriting adage, right?
Logic or
Like so,
value?
what's that?
Logic or value? Or
That's a
both?
good question. It depends. I mean, you might buy something that's valueless, but your own logic might be flawed where you think is valued, right? So there's like argument, nuance there, but yeah, usually the way I've always been explained to it is like emotion and logic. So like, I'm thirsty. This solves my problem. This is an emotional problem. I want to not be thirsty, and then I justify it like it's water is healthy. I can drink as much as I want, right?
Sure.
With the logic aspect of it. That's just the way things are sold, I think. Like selling something on price, and this, I'm sure you're familiar with this, Bradley, but for your audience, like if you're selling on price, there's a good chance you're going to try to undercut the other competitors, which has its place, but ultimately is just like a losing battle, in my opinion. Like it's a race to the bottom. So like, sell on emotions more than price. I think it's almost always better.
So,
If it makes sense, if the logic part actually does justify the purchase, of course. Don't sell something shitty or something you think is shitty. At least you should think is valuable, right?
yeah, yeah. Let me challenge you on that in a good way,
Sure.
right? So we always said sell on emotion and then retain on value, okay? And defining what that value is to somebody, because if you can create value, like you said with water, I need water because I need to stay hydrated, okay?
Yeah.
But the emotion is that I'm thirsty, okay?
Right.
So quench the thirst, and then you've satisfied whatever that emotional response is to being thirsty, and then create the value of retaining resale, moving the chains, in HubSpot terms, it's the delight phase, right? Anyways, so yeah, I'm picking on HubSpot and all the good.
I love we have a marketing meeting and we call it Sparky because HubSpot called it that, and like my director of sales absolutely hates the name, so like, you ready for marketing, Alex?
uh, yeah, it was the hug thing. The hug
that
thing did me.
that's creepy. Go continue your story on the value thing. I think we probably agree actually,
Yeah,
yeah, keep going.
in the challenges, just in because I think that's important from a marketing sales standpoint, is we discuss logic, right? And then what we realized, and I'm not challenging you in a bad way, I promise, but what we realized is that humans are illogical. It doesn't matter how
Yeah.
logical you try and paint them to be. They're illogical, and they act first on emotion, and they keep coming back based on value. Okay, because the way you lose a customer is that they determine that your competitor or a competitive product is more valuable. Does that make
Right.
sense?
100%. So we do agree here then.
Yeah.
Our definitions of the words are what we're fighting over on the semantics here. But
Sure.
yes, I think you're right. Most people are illogical. That's why I mentioned like you might buy something valueless, but you still justified it with your logic because maybe your logic is flawed, right? Like, because you're not very logical, right? Why you bought this? Like, oh, I'm drinking this Coke. It's super healthy. There's no sugar in it. Like, I had this conversation with my mom once. She's very illogical, right? She's like, I don't drink sugar, or I don't eat sugar, and she's drinking a Coca-Cola. Like, this whole thing is sugar. What are you talking about? So people are very illogical creatures. So I 100% agree with what you said there. I
So,
think we were saying the same things just in different ways.
so then the other argument we would have with salespeople was determining value, right? And where that got muddied was best value, right? Best value. I'm like, okay, best value is a price. And as soon as you switch people to assuming that the value is the price that they're paying, you've already lost, like you're saying, right?
Right.
It's just a matter of who can discount the fastest, who can stay in front, who can,
Yeah.
what it's just a
The
game.
losing battle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we actually talked about that in one of, I think I was talking with Craig about it in, yeah, I don't remember which video that was, but it was the first Craig Campbell video.
We have a competitor. He started off there's no commission, right? 0% commission. He like made money, I think, for like service add-ons or whatever. Like I knew he was not going to do well, just because he wasn't taking any commission. And his whole marketing thing was like shitting on other like bigger brokers like us,
Uh-huh.
basically. Like, oh, they charge you so much money to just send out an email, which clearly is not what we do. Like, even our email, sending out an email is quite complex. So you know how HubSpot, you can do like insane segmentation. So like, it's not just like I'm sending out an email to my Aweber list or MailChimp list, like this is like crazy email marketing. And then we do all this other crazy shit. But anyways, so he was all about 0% commission. And I was telling Justin, my boss, one of our co-founders, like, I'm pretty sure this guy's going to pivot. And I give him like probably like 230 days or something like that. Because I think he's going to make these pivots over this timeline. And then like 3 months later, the first like milestone of my pivot happens where now he's charging commission. And now he's not saying he's not a broker anymore, because now he is. And he's still saying like all this other stuff, but it's like, he just can't get traction because he never charged a real value, right? He was trying to discount so bad that he can't even be like profitable to grow. Like, it's just the business acumen of just undercutting, like even to try to get traction, I think it's usually a terrible strategy.
We had oh my god, you're just bringing up so many opportunities for great conversation. We had a partner that would refer clients to us that was an app developer, and it was such a bad relationship, and they still owe me a lot of money, right? So I don't have a lot of great things to say about them, but they would send us these, so they would take on a client to build an app for whatever this person's dream was. Okay. And it's literally the most beautiful. It's what I call cycle sales. Only because I have my own names for everything. But their head dude, Tommy, would literally get somebody excited about what they were already excited about from building an app. Okay. And some of these apps are 150, 300 grand, whatever. They would sell them on their own idea. And he was such a great job of keeping them excited about what they were, about the app idea that they had, but they wouldn't talk about monetizing their platform. Okay. So they would literally, I would have conversations with these because he would push them over to us. So they signed the contract to build the app. When they would get close to finishing the app work, and I mean, one of them was an NBA player, NBA All-Star, right? Who paid them to
Yeah.
build an app and pushes them over to us. And, well, we need to market this and blah, blah, blah. And, we need to get the word out and all of this other, standard marketing stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I would always ask him, how do you plan on monetizing your app? Well, the first thing we need to do is get all these people to come in. And I'm like, so you're going to do a freemium play? I mean, I'm that'll never work, because if you bring everybody in on free, and I understand the freemium, from like a app on your phone, like a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. You can do that freemium to an extent, and you can offer little bits and pieces and draw them in with content to encourage them to spend more and more and more. That's what the games do. But if you're not giving somebody endless opportunities and bait to come back into that game, you're never going to be able to chase those quarters and dollars fast enough, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about somebody's, coming in, no brokerage fees, giving everything away, blah 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 blah, all of this other stuff, and dude, I've seen that so many times. In that, there's a nugget in what I'm going to say because I see freaking agency owners doing that too. Oh, let me just prove myself. Let me go ahead and build you a website, get clients in the door, do your marketing campaigns. Let me manage your social media because I really just want a testimony and a case study in the end. And like you're saying, in the end, they just did $50,000 worth of work for freaking free. For what?
Yeah.
Testimonial?
Like who you're trying to beat here too, like the foreign SEO dude hitting up the chiropractor is like $100 a month. Like you shouldn't be charging $100 a month because that guy is just like he's probably just like putting like an alt tag on an image or something for that price, like
Sure. I get you page
it's
one of
crazy.
Google, $50 a month.
Yeah, you got to value yourself if you're going to gain traction. Like we've been hit because we have a 15% commission fee. Like, oh, that's a ton of money to be charging for the business I built. Like, well, you also get access to a buyer marketplace that has over $1 billion of investable liquidity. That's just like
Sure.
one of the benefits. We negotiate, we migrate the deal for you, we renegotiation if migrations fail. We have APA agreements for legals. Like, what do you want? Like, we're about to pay you like 200,
Yeah.
$300,000, and all you had to do was pay us 15%, and like
I
most sites sell within 40 days. So
I had I had a friend of mine. This goes back to real estate, right? I can't believe that I'm paying my real estate agent seven
oh yeah, my dad's a realtor, so I'm very familiar with like these objections. Yeah.
and this is a friend of mine telling me this, right? I can't believe I'm paying my realtor 7%. I said, what do you think you should pay him? Well, I think if I'm selling it for, I don't know, 200,000, right? Oh, okay, 200,000. 200,000. That means they get 14,000. $14,000 to sell it at 200,000, but they're going to have to do a commission split with whoever the
Yeah.
buyer agent is. Plus, they have to pay a broker, and let's just assume that they get paid 5 grand in the end, because that's
Don't consider all the other expenses of what it costs to generate that lead and client,
right.
right?
Right. Well, I want the whole 200,000. And honest to God, what I said to this dude, literally his jaw dropped. And I finally say, hey, you know what, dude, shut the hell up. He's like, what? I said, if you want 200,000 out of your house, just add the 7% commission to the 200,000 and make that your asking price.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's a good point. I said, what?
My boy, that's a really solid point there. So we have people who I had a friend actually he sold a business for I think about $300,000 and affiliates, a really decent one, and he hit me up like, dude, you're probably going to hear about it. I sold the site privately. I didn't go with you guys because I didn't want to pay the commission. I was like, well, how much you sell it for? And he told me, I like, dude, like you lost money. He's like, what do you mean? Like we probably could have sold the site for like 400,000 or $430,000. You way underpriced yourself. Even with our commission, you would have made more money, like, and probably faster because we have a much bigger buyer database than most entrepreneurs because they're not really spending the time building that audience, right?
They're out on
So
Facebook. They're out on Facebook saying, hey, I want to sell my affiliate marketing site.
yeah, exactly, right. So this is a thing that like very similar to real estate. When you go and sell your property on your own, if you don't know what you're doing, you're probably going to screw yourself, right? Like
Sure.
because you like it's just not something you're familiar with. You're not in the day to day all the time, right? Most people when they sell a business, that's a highlight event, right? So they're not doing it all the time. Even the most prolific guys out there are selling their business. Like maybe they'll sell two or three a year, and like sometimes we sell that in a day, right? So
Mhm.
we're in it so much more. So yeah, that realtor argument, I've heard that so often, it just blows my mind.
Oh, I could just go all day with, like, I don't know, with people that just do crazy stuff. In the end, it's about, do what you're good at and stay in your lane and don't assume, like we were talking about Corel, right? The client with Corel,
Yeah.
I'm a designer. Okay. Give me this file, what the hell is that file extension? Right? What are you designing at Corel? I didn't know that they were still in business. Like
Good
literally,
for them.
Are you serious? I thought they went down with the Titanic. I actually, I didn't, I didn't think that Corel existed since Commodore 64s or Commodore, no, 128s went out. You know what I mean? Or maybe
Yeah.
Atari 2600s, but I'll give them credit for that. You know what I mean? But man, oh man, yeah, do what you're good at. Learn, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with that. They're just all great.
This is a fun valley filled meandering conversation. I
But
love it.
that's why people watch these. I mean, honest to God, they're like, yeah, I learned so much about this, but man, yeah, I was gonna hire somebody and they really sucked.
I love shows like this too, like where there's a little bit of agenda, but it's just kind of like back and forth, sharing stories. A lot of power to learning that, like what really goes on. Especially if you want to know how I react in a guru's penthouse, like I will drink all their whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah, Ty Lopez. When you said Ty Lopez, I was like, yeah.
uh,
Oh boy. Yeah. So that's the other nugget before we go. And then I do have to let you go because it's like, oh my God, going on what, 1:36 in the morning?
yeah, I have to go as well. I have a boxing training here. I just started learning how to box with this crazy French guy that's destroying me like 3 4 times a week.
So boxing?
Yeah, yeah.
Boxing's good for you. Boxing's good for you.
It's like I'm doing the actual first boxing lesson next week, but the last 2 months we've been doing like core trainings to like
Yeah.
build me up towards it. Because I'm just so weak. It's like the first moment he just grabs my lower back. He's like, "You are a weak man, but stick with me. I'll make you strong." Like, okay, awesome.
Aren't the French just great at sound? I said, how do you say this? The biggest asshole French dude comes off as the nicest person while being an asshole. You know what I mean? You
100%.
suck,
Yeah.
sir. You really suck. But you stick with me, I'll make you great.
Like, yeah, he had me join his CrossFit class. Like, Greg, no one's going to make fun of you. Don't worry. There's some like really experienced people here. No one will make fun of you. Just do your best. I know you won't be able to succeed because your stamina issues, but we'll build you up. Like, okay. So I get there. The one person that makes fun of me in front of the whole class is him. Like, he just
Right,
starts like
right.
railing me. Like, Greg, are you serious? I'm like, oh my
Nobody's
god.
gonna make fun of you except for me, right?
I
Except
love it though. He's a cool dude.
if you, if, if you ever get a chance, one of the most exciting things that I took for granted that I learned in the army was Krav Maga, right?
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. Yeah.
And we didn't learn a whole bunch of it, but I wish I had paid better attention to it. Okay. I mean, I was young. I was 18, 19 years old, right? Maybe 20. I was drunk most of that time anyway. But
Perfect way to learn Krav Maga.
oh my God.
It's like
Yeah.
dangerous martial art.
We could do 2 hours of screw ups a day. I when I got out of the army, I still hold the record on Fort Sill for fastest rank or fastest to E4 rank in Fort Sill,
Yeah, yeah.
Oklahoma. Now I'm also going to share with you that I got out as an E6, and I got promoted every time I screwed up. So my boss would, yeah, showing up for a 3 core run to run 7 miles straight out of the after bar, the after hours bar, right? Pouring myself in, literally, yeah, it was so bad. But anyhow, we could talk for hours about that. But yeah, go box. But if you get a chance to learn Krav Maga, oh my God, man, I wish I could still do that stuff.
Yeah, it might be something down the road. I like right now. I'm just trying to get in shape so I can be more productive with the marketing stuff. So life has gotten so busy. Strangely, even with no conferences, somehow I feel like I'm even busier than I was last year. So
Well, you know why that is, right?
what is that?
Because the people who are staying at home more often now feel that they can waste your time more.
Maybe there's probably some truth to that.
Sorry, Mom, I'm talking about you. Sorry if you watch this. Sorry, Dad. Right? No, I don't need to talk to you every day. Right? I don't need 80 Pinterest articles from my mother about blueberry muffins and shit. I don't know. Yeah, COVID can go screw itself. I'm already done. I'm over COVID. I
Oh
just
man.
want everything.
Yeah. I'm not envious of your situation over there. Vietnam is doing fairly well with it all. Like everything's open, no problems. But they tend to be pretty good with weird diseases from China, so they have a long history of that. So
So somebody said something to me the other day, and I came out with a witty comment. And we're gonna part. We have to part after this, right? But
sure, sure.
said something about uh, they said something about why do you think the U.S. has so many COVID cases? I said, well, that's real simple. I said, how many people do you see walk out of the Walmart bathroom or the grocery store bathroom without washing their hands? And they're just spreading that shit around, and they don't give a shit, right? They're going to pick up. I said the reason why the other countries that are doing well or better than we are is because they probably wash their hands and they're cleaner people, right?
That
So
is a surprisingly yes, like that simple thing by itself, and something I had to learn more being over here, because like I wash my hands and stuff, but like not like Asian people do. Like
oh yeah,
they're
they're
much
doing
more obsessed with it.
yeah.
Like so yeah, it's, like those simple things really important.
And they're really good at it. I was in South
Yes.
Korea for a while. I was all over in the military, and the one thing I noticed about Asian countries, at least the countries that I went to that were, first world
Yeah. Yeah.
areas, right? They were diligent. If I had to say, there were two things that I would say. One is diligent, and two, generally nice. Okay,
That
I mean those were the two
been
things.
pretty true in my experience. So everywhere I've been so far in Asia. So
Yeah. Well,
uh,
I may get over there sooner than later.
yeah, come hang out, man. Come hang out.
Let's hang out and eat some good food.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, man. I hope your audience got a lot of good value out of it. And let me know when it goes live. We'll do a little share of it for you. Hopefully, getting some new listeners.
Yeah, it'll probably not be later today for me, but it'll be.
Yeah,
Yeah, I gotta,
you should probably get some sleep first.
yeah. So it'll be Thursday, Friday, my day. So Friday, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Friday, my morning will be Friday evening your time, right?
Yeah, it's something like that.
So
Either or maybe super early Saturday, but it's no big deal. So
yeah, it'll be 10 o'clock. Wait, what time is it there right now?
2:42,
2:42.
in
So
the
it'll come
afternoon.
out
Yeah.
11 o'clock p.m. your Friday night. I schedule
Nice.
them all. So well, I appreciate you doing this, and I mean, I'm going to have questions for you, and I'm going to ask you back to talk about specific things if that's cool with you.
Yeah, 100%, man. I enjoy giving value to people if they really learn something. So I love doing stuff like this. So
Yeah, and definitely hit me up with the name of that site so I can.
yes, I will think of it. I have like the first letter in my head. It's been bothering me the whole interview,
Well,
trying to remember.
I didn't put the first one down. I don't even remember what
Oh,
it was called.
human proof designs. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat for you.
Human. Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes. And the ODYS people, I'll put them in there too. I'll have to send Craig a thing. Everybody asks me if I'm like making money off of this stuff, and I'm like, no, this is all right, man. Go learn how to box. I'm gonna
All
go.
right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. Take it
Thanks, Craig.
easy.
All right.